All right. Welcome to the BizDev podcast. Today, we have Joe Spina from Spina Company. How you doing?
I'm good. Little tired.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm with you.
Long day.
Yeah. So just wanted to, get together and kind of explain about your company.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind talking about how you got started?
Sure. We do real estate in Philadelphia, mostly in one zip code, 19121. And I got started on a whim when I met a kid. I thought he made too much money fixing up and flipping a property. So he didn't seem so smart. I thought, man, if he could do it, I bet I could do it too.
Okay.
So that's how I got started about 20 years ago.
Oh, awesome. And out of the Philadelphia area,
Mm-hmm.
correct? Okay, awesome.
Mostly in Brewertown and Strawberry Mansion is where we do most of our projects.
Okay, great. So how was that first property? How'd you get started with your first property?
When I was doing his tax return, this contractor, something in his voice, he was almost finished a job and he needed a little bit more money to finish the job and sell the house. And I had a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he seemed like a nice enough guy. And I had said in the meeting on a whim, if you need a little bit of money, I could loan it to you and you can finish the house. And then you could just pay me back a little extra when you're done. And he originally said no. And then he called me on his cell phone like in a couple of minutes and said, "Were you serious? I could really use the money." And so that's the way it got started.
So was that like a partnership you created?
Yeah,
or?
we did. We were partners for about 3 years.
Okay.
I was the money, the brains, and the looks. No. And he was the construction and the idea guy, and he was the look. So.
Okay. Now, was that the start of a future partnership or?
Yeah, we started that one, and I think we did about 15 or 20 houses together we built.
Okay. All in the Philadelphia area?
All on all on like 2 streets right over here in the Art Museum area.
Wow, that's awesome. So what were the initial first challenges that you had starting?
Well, when you renovate a house, you need a couple of things. You need a house, you need contractors, you need a good idea of what it's going to look like, and you need the money to fix it up.
Okay.
And the money can come in the form of cash or loans from the bank.
Okay. So how did you run into any major issues? Because I know you hear people, their first flip, they underestimate or they try and, I wasn't expecting this charge to be, this problem to come up and kind of.
Everything goes wrong. You really F up everything on your first couple of jobs. It's not until you do a couple that you realize this is the way it's done.
Okay. It's
like making a fondue cake or something. Like you have to make a couple to know how much time and what goes into it and who not to use and who to use.
So once you did, those first couple of flips, did you realize, oh, wow, this real estate thing, I'm getting it. This is what I kind of want to do? Or?
Yep, we got it after a while, and it was pretty easy, and we were making money. And I was the smart one. So we would flip one and keep half of the money and put the second money into another flip. And we put aside a couple of multi-unit buildings with the money that we made. So we didn't just spend it all. We banked it and invested in real estate on the side.
Okay. So you went from a few single-family flips to
a couple of small apartment buildings.
Go to multifamily.
Yeah, in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Some we still own. I bought them out of some of them.
How was that different from, I know a lot of people that are in single-family, they can't imagine owning, a multifamily property. What was that experience like?
It's owning a building, and you have to be in charge of 1 or 2 things or 3 things in a triplex instead of just one person. So never really thought about it much because everything rolls off my shoulders because we do it so much.
Okay.
It's just a little extra time to manage a triplex as opposed to a single-family house.
And with Spina Company right now, what do you guys do? Seems like you're a full service.
We are.
Okay.
We have this one building, and I have a partner for almost every business that I need. Like my accounting, I have a partner named Nancy. My management, I have a partner named Joe Bernstein. And for the leasing, I have a partner named Brian Reese. And each one of those people really helps me with the 3 departments of how it's supposed to be done.
And what was it like? It sounds like you have a very good team. How was finding those team members to add on with the company. How was that process for you?
I found out, and I saw your questions in advance, so
Okay.
I know how I want to answer this one. I accept loss, and I accept weakness and problems and confusion, and
For yourself?
for
Or
things around me.
okay,
Yeah, like
okay.
not everything has to be perfect, and I'm not a tyrant. So over the years, these people that have worked with me and for me, my partners, for like 13, 14 years we've been together.
Okay.
At any other company, we would have disbanded 3 or 4 times, because when there's an argument, 2 people butt heads and walk away and say F you. When there's an argument here, we sit down and we all figure it out. And if there's a loss to be taken, I usually take the loss and move on. So I accept most of the problems myself, because those problems are small compared to the greater good of all the properties that we own.
Okay. So just so I understand it right, so if maybe one of your team members make a mistake and it's
Yeah.
a large financial, you'll step up to the plate and say, okay, we're not going to put the problem on you. I'm going to take the brunt of this issue.
True. Like even today, I found a problem that I didn't like, but I realized that I didn't give that person enough instruction.
Okay.
Given the proper instruction, they wouldn't have had that problem. So it's partially my responsibility. I'm the boss.
Okay. It's a really good way to look at it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Plus, I want all these people to continue to work for me, and I don't want them to just storm out the door.
Yeah. So how, it's interesting. I mean, my assumption is just kind of you describing that probably is a pretty nice work environment here.
It is good.
How do you create that? Say if I'm a new business owner, I'm young, I want to, get going. How do I create a culture to where, people can not be afraid to bring up problems, or they have issues and they can go to the owner, the boss, and tell them, hey, I screwed up, and not be scared and hide it?
Well, I found the problem and I brought it to their attention. But we have systems for everything. So there's a system for everything, and I have like kind of a plan B for everything. So we have good accounting software, we have good software, we have good communication. We have this phone system that works pretty well. For all the volume that goes through this office with all the apartments that we ran and manage and repairs that we do, it's seamless. We actually keep the phones turned off and they don't ring at our desks. They could only ring at whosever portal is in charge of the problem. Like if you need a repair, the phone's only going to ring at the guy's desk who does the repairs, and he won't answer it. It'll just go to voicemail, and he'll listen to all the phone calls. If you respond to a phone call, you're going to be on the phone all day long. Mm-hmm. But if you listen to the phone message, you can get a plan of action.
And plan before you reach out.
Plan
to the
before
tenant.
you reach out and figure out. Like if I have 7 plumbing repairs in the same neighborhood, I'm going to send a guy that next day to do all 7 in the same neighborhood. So systems, processes. If we need a new server, we'll buy it. Mm-hmm. If we need new equipment, if we need a pickup truck or a van or new ladders or ladder jacks, we buy whatever we need.
Okay. Awesome.
Or if we need scaffolding, we steal it off of somebody else's job, because that's one thing that everybody steals from each other in this business is scaffolding.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting, to create a culture here that I kind of like how you mentioned with the problems going directly to maybe someone in leasing or someone who's the plumber who fixes the issues.
It's good software too. If you have good software and a good person, and if that person has a good helper, the system should work fine.
Okay. So I know you mentioned about your first deal. Sounded like that was a partnership?
That was a partnership, yep, with a guy named Fred, the guy I said who wasn't that smart. I've said it over and over again in different podcasts. So one of these days he's going to walk in the front door because he lives close by.
Yeah. So how, if I'm a first time, investment property owner, what might be the best way to structure, owning the property? Say if it's with a partner or myself or, LLC.
Everybody should own their own house in their own name as their principal residence. That's tax-free. And then if you're engaged or you have a significant other, they should own a house in their own name. That's tax-free. Every person's allowed to own one house. Okay. And after you get married, every couple's allowed to have one house, tax-free. So,
and as if it goes up, describe that.
Sure, it's actually called house hacking. Everybody is allowed to have one house that they live in as their principal residence for 24 months. So if played correctly, You can have a couple of houses at the same time that are your principal residence for you and maybe your fiance or a significant other.
So if it sells for a profit, it'd be
No tax, no tax.
and there's no limit.
As long as you live there for 2 years and follow the principal residence rules.
Okay.
No
And
tax.
just want to announce, if you guys are interested, the listeners of about these questions, just kind of want to put a disclaimer out there. Joe is a CPA, but we want to talk to your own CPA and just clarify what your situation is. Just kind of want to put a disclaimer out there.
So everybody should super house hack.
Okay.
And the houses that they own, they should rent it to roommates and Airbnb them out to get the maximum amount of money in to help pay for
And that
rent.
income is not taxable since it's their residence.
It could be taxable, but let's play it a different way.
Okay.
Your roommate's money is really a personal event. If a roommate pays you money, nobody's puts that on their tax return, really.
Mm-hmm.
Airbnb is going to give you a 1099 ticket at the end of the year, but you could put down as many expenses as you want. So
Gotcha.
everybody should have their principal residence, house hack, Airbnb, roommate. And after that, if you're going to buy more property, like I was telling you to buy one a year and then one every 6 months as we were walking and talking, that should probably be in an LLC.
Okay.
And it should probably be a partnership, maybe with somebody else. Maybe you and a relative buy it together with, your good looks and somebody else's money. And that's a partnership. Just a property purchased and owned in, just call it 123 LLC. You could always sell the LLC without selling the property or change the owners of it without selling the property. Very flexible.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So how did you get to do real estate and CPA as well? How did that come about? Or
CPA first. I'm properly trained as a CPA.
okay,
But you can only make so much money fee for service as a CPA. I started reading some books, and the real wealth comes from property ownership. Property makes you money while you're sleeping overnight. And if you own it for 5 years or 20 years, that's a lot of overnights to make you money as the value goes up. In accounting, you only make money when you're sitting at your desk.
good way to look at it. It's really interesting.
And thank God for tax season, too, in the end of every month, because accountants have you by the, I can bill you every year, every month. It's not like I'm selling you a couch you only need to buy once.
Yeah.
I'm selling you something 12 times a year.
Is that when, are you completely slammed? Tax
Oh, yeah.
season?
We're here. I've slept here a bunch of times before. We bring in extra people.
Wow.
But it's just an exercising being normal, keeping the same tone of voice, not yelling at everybody, just on the headset all day long, running around trying to figure out what to do with all these tax returns.
So what are some, if I'm a owner of real estate, I know you mentioned about house hacking in your primary residence. Is there any other tax strategies I should be thinking of?
Sure. First, instead of tax, everybody wants to figure out how I can save on my taxes. Screw that part of it and move that aside.
Okay.
It's really how can I make more money off of the money that I have buying more real estate. Like if you have $20,000, you could buy a piece of property for $100,000. You could leverage that 20 and get a loan for 80. But it's on your tax return. Usually on your tax return, almost all rentals are neutral or a loss because you get to double dip the interest and the real estate taxes, and you get to double dip the depreciation.
And just explain what depreciation...
Depreciation is writing off the building that you purchased over the lifetime of the property, which for a house is 27 years.
Okay.
So let's round it to 25. That's easier. You buy a house for $100, you could write off $4,000 a year. The house doesn't go down in value by 4. It probably goes up in value by 10. 10% a year off the 100. So it's a big loophole. On my tax return alone, I take mega amounts of depreciation. It makes the income go way down.
I might be mistaken, but I thought I've heard you said 27 years you could depreciate your property. A house. Can you speed that up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You can speed up stuff. You could write stuff off in the year, 1 year deduction. You could write it off with a bonus, 50% in the first year. With real estate now, they have a new 15-year life for a lot of improvements. And as a bonus, you could write that off in a year. So you could really push all the main components of constructing property and improving property. As long as you follow the rules, there's rules online, you could really put a lot of depreciation. Like we did a couple of tax returns where we followed the rules. Brand new building, they were able to depreciate at like $200,000 within the first year of purchase.
Wow.
Followed the rules, did a little, it's a little complicated. I'll stop there, but read the rules.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So make sure, listeners, you gotta, it's not only just about, buying the property, it's the strategy behind it. Whether it's you're going to put in there as a tenants, if you're going to have it managed by somebody, you're going to do it yourself. Just the tax strategy alone sounds like, whoever's, looking for, you need a good CPA to help you out with it.
You do, and thank God for QuickBooks, because every time we write a check or receive money, it goes in QuickBooks, so at the end of the year, it's all accumulated for these tax returns, and some other software we use to manage the tenants.
Okay. And then how many properties, so you started with one and then a few and then multifamilies. At this point in 2019, how many do you have now?
It's a pretty high number.
Okay.
I used to think I was a big crap in 2005.
Yeah.
I remember going out to a bar with a buddy, and we had just purchased and held our 44th building. And I thought to myself, man, 44 buildings or properties.
Yeah.
I'm really somebody now. But as of today, we own and hold 407 properties that perform, or houses or apartment buildings or vacant properties or vacant lots.
And did you think at 44 units back then, did you think you would own 400 plus now?
No, I didn't.
What was the mind, like how, you just didn't fall into that. What was like the mind shift of, I'm at 44, I'm good, I'm going to take a break. Like, what was the point or why,
It happened because of the economy went down in 2008, 9, and 10. And then coming out of that, I had a couple people approach me about buying sheriff sale properties at the city of Philadelphia, sheriff sale. So why the values are low, take that money to the sheriff sale and buy it lower than low. Because at the sheriff sale, we're able to get stuff at like 40 cents on the dollar. Now like 60 cents on the dollar, but still at the lowest of the low, they're going to give it to you for 40 cents on the dollar of what it could be worth. So we took all the money that we had and we went to the sheriff sale and bought as much as possible.
So like in 2007, 2008?
Didn't do much. Just managed the 44 and thought we were,
okay,
a big fish.
Did you feel the real estate market was getting a little hot, a little warm? Could you foresee a potential downturn? Like, were you preparing?
No.
Okay.
Things come up and go down, and there's going to be another downturn coming up sometime soon. I don't know when. And to prepare for that, maybe we'll slow down on our purchasing. Refi, we'll do some major refis and some big projects, but we know it's going to come out of that again, and we'll put together another fund of money and go buy as much as we can when we think it's going down or at the bottom or coming back up.
Wow.
So you have to be able to win when you're winning and win when you're losing.
Interesting mindset. That's very interesting. So where do you see, Philadelphia, since I've lived here, I don't live here anymore, but I've seen a lot of change. A lot of new skyscrapers, a lot, towns, neighborhoods have been changed inside out. And where do you see Philadelphia in the next few years?
Well, thank God for Center City, because with all they call it meds and eds, medicine and education down there. There's so many businesses going downtown right now and hospitals, and we have like 60 schools, colleges in Philadelphia, that all those people that are coming here to work at all those businesses like Comcast and the Navy Yard, they need some place to live. So they can't all live in Center City where they work. So they have to live in rings outside of Center City. And that's why some of these other neighborhoods like Brewertown are getting better, because it's like a $9 Uber ride right now, or a $6 Uber pool to go to work in Center City. And they all just take Uber back and forth right now.
I've ridden around Brewertown over the past few months and just seeing what they're doing over there.
A lot of construction. That's where we put all of our money, in Brewertown and Strawberry Mansion.
Okay.
It's hard to figure out in Strawberry Mansion how far north to go, because it's endless. Like, it fans out in Strawberry Mansion once you go north, but we're still trying to buy in the same pocket. Like, there's certain streets where we own 16 or 18 or 20 buildings or vacant lots on the same street.
And are you looking within the future? Are you going to continue with the duplexes, single family, multifamily, or are you going to go even? I know there's 100 units and 200 units. Is that something?
No, I'm like a singles hitter and a doubles hitter.
Okay.
I can bat 350 if I was a baseball player, and just hitting the doubles and the singles and the bunts and taking the walk and getting hit in the butt maybe with a couple of hits. But whenever I do anything bigger or go outside of what I can handle, I always get a little anxious and it doesn't go right. Like we're building a 12-unit condo building right now in Frankfurt, and it's going to happen, but it takes longer and it goes over the budget and we're going to make money. I could have made more money with that money just by putting it in more vacant land up in Strawberry Mansion, but we're a multi-headed monster. We're building at any given time 6 properties, single family house up to an 8-unit property right now, and including this 12-unit that's halfway finished.
Okay.
A lot of work in building a 12-unit property in Fishtown.
Yeah. What's that process like? Like how?
A lot of trusting and a lot of architects and lawyers and neighborhood meetings and partners. Dan Carroll's my partner in that one. He figures out a lot of the hard stuff.
Okay.
A lot of trust. If you can trust the person in real estate, then you could move forward with the project. Like a lot of times I'm saying yes to something at the 55th percentile of understanding it because I know this guy knows how to do 80% of what it is. So if he's done it before, I know he knows how to do it again.
Yeah, no, that sounds like you have to establish really good relationships with your partners. And how, if I was looking to start a business with a partner, how would I determine, I'm not saying I just met somebody, but you say I've known somebody, more of a business acquaintance.
It's probably somebody from within, a friend or a family member, a college buddy, something like that you have some affinity or you admire that person because of something they've done. And like I admired Dan Carroll because he was good at finding and flipping properties. And then he invited me to flip one. I'm like, I don't know where you got this from, but this is a lot of money that could be made off of just flipping. So then you hang your hat with Dan or you hitch your cart to him or whatever they say. You want to know what Stan's doing, and if he needs money, you're interested to find out what he's doing. He might ask you to be involved in something else.
Okay. That's interesting because sometimes you hear someone, I don't want to do real estate. I heard my uncle's cousin got burned, or
you're going to get burned, and if you could accept those burns and move on, but if you win 90% of the time and break even 8% of the time and only lose 2% of the time, that's pretty good.
Okay.
Those are probably my stats.
So going into it, accepting a potential, hey, I might get, this person might burn me, or this opportunity might fall through. I mean, it's better to actually go out to bat than.
Yes. And almost every day, again, I was reading your questions in advance. I plan for wins and I plan for losses every day on the way in, because with this many properties, stuff's going to happen in a day, unexpected stuff. But if you come in, like today I went to court, I had a problem, and I know things are going to happen. So I start to accept that I'm going to lose something. And so when it happens and I lose something, I'm already prepared for it. Or if I think we're going to sell a property and let's make up a $80,000 profit, and we only make 55 or maybe 45, I planned for 80, but I knew we were going to make less. So as long as you're always planning for wins and losses, it's just part of what we do.
So going expecting, there's going to be an issue, or, I might have problems. It's just, I guess it changes your perspective because you're already ready for.
I'm planning. I'm always planning. Plus, I'm always trying to use a Texas Hold'em too, which is you win if you win and you win if you lose. Like if you have a property, you don't know whether you want to hold it or sell it. If you could make money both ways, there's nothing really wrong to do. If you sell it and make money or keep it and make money, that's a Texas Hold'em, I think it's called, that you win or you lose if you win.
Okay. That's
flip that around. You win if you win, and you win if you lose.
Okay. I got you. That makes sense. So do you see within, like, I know you mentioned like a correction happening.
It's inevitable. Everything goes like this in real estate, up and down, but in general, the prices continue to go up. So even when that market went down in like 7 to 10, it kind of went down like that and then corrected itself back up, and it continued on.
And that goes to your suggestion, always,
Keep buying at the dollar cost average. If you use dollar cost average, you're going to just buy everything at a reasonable price.
And define that for the listener.
If you buy a property today for $1 and then next year for $2 and the year after that for $3, your dollar cost average for those three properties is $2.
Okay.
But the year after that, those properties are worth $4. So you've made $2 off of every property that you purchased. 3 off the first one, 2 off the second, and $1 off the third.
Okay.
I'm not going to stop buying just because they're approaching 3. I know they're going to be worth 4 and then 5. It's just inevitable. It always happens.
And mainly is your tenant base, I know you mentioned you're by some different universities. Is it mainly students?
We have a lot of students, but I don't hang my hat on the students. Most of our tenants are real people with real jobs that work in the jobs downtown in Center City. They can afford $1,300 or $1,600 or $2,400 a month for like a married or engaged couple, or even 2 individuals living together.
Okay.
And like what's it called with 2 bedrooms? 2 bedrooms.
Okay.
3 bedrooms.
And what what's the screening process for?
Pretty rough.
Okay.
My partner Brian, we use NTN, which screens you. It's like a criminal check, not a criminal check, I'm sorry, but a tenant check with a lot of information there about who you are, who you work for, all your addresses, and you tell us how much you make and who you work for and who you lived with. And this will tell us in a prior life if you've ever been evicted or had problems. And we charge you for that, like $60, and then we run the report. So we have a credit minimum or maximum that they have to have, and they have to make 3 times the rent.
Okay.
And we have to vet every individual who's going to live there, and we have to know about your pets, size and name and weight, because all that stuff goes into the lease. We spend a lot more time saying no to the people that we don't want. And so we really only have good tenants. We really don't have much non-payment, and we don't have much eviction.
And those results are based off of
what we did in the beginning.
Process.
Yeah. We worked hard in the beginning so that we get our 12 months worth of rent.
Gotcha. So you don't have to deal with the
I
problems.
don't know even how many tenants we have or supervise. Let's just pretend it's 550 tenants pay us money. Mm-hmm. The amount of unpaid or take to court to evict is just so low.
Okay.
Like it's below 1% or 2%.
Really?
Yeah. These guys do a great job.
Wow.
Very proactive in what they all do downstairs.
What was that software called?
We use QuickBooks.
I mean, the screening software? I know.
Oh, NTN. It's like a credit report.
Okay. That's interesting.
And if I want anything better on anyone, I can go to my buddy at Legal Errands and get a criminal or background check, or I can have somebody followed, which I've done, or do an asset check on somebody, or a familial relationship chart. If I'm going to sell somebody something big or be a partner with somebody, I would consider like really getting as much information as I can.
Okay. Oh, wow.
For $360, I'm going to do one on you when you leave. I don't even need your permission.
Oh, you don't?
Nope.
Oh, wow. Well, let me know the results.
Yeah, I will. I'll tell you if you've ever been convicted of a crime, or what kind of car you drive and who you're engaged to and your relatives' names, and it's all in the report.
That's interesting. I'm going to keep that in mind.
If you need it.
Yeah, maybe we can actually put that just a reminder in the show notes.
If you want.
Just so the listeners, if they're interested, they can apply for that. So when you do take someone to court, how's that process?
It's usually landlord-tenant court, and we're usually going to win because we have a pretty good lease. Mm-hmm. We've probably given them every benefit of the doubt. They've even signed the lease, and we've read it to them a little bit. And they're leaving because they had a problem. Their problems usually are they're going to get divorced, they lost their job, or they got a drug problem, things that you would not foresee happening.
Yeah.
So when those things happen and you can't pay your rent and you won't move, because we'll give you an opportunity to move and give us a lease break fee. But if you stay and don't pay us and you're just wearing out your welcome, I can get into court after you're like 1 month behind on rent, and I can get you out in like the second month. It's just so fast.
And is that, is Pennsylvania a good landlord?
It's a good, fair state for the landlord. It all is based around the lease. If you have a good lease signed, and you use an attorney that goes there all the time, the landlord-tenant, which we use one that goes all the time, they address the attorneys first. The judge knows the attorneys.
Gotcha.
It's generally accepted that they have more acumen than just all the single people coming in.
makes the process faster. or
Yeah,
more
it's like
efficient.
find for the landlord, find for the landlord, find for the landlord. We don't even go to court anymore. We just dictate with him back and forth by email.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Hmm.
So you're building in Fishtown, a 12 unit.
But mostly Strawberry Mansion and
Strawberry
Brewerytown,
Mansion.
yeah.
What other projects are you excited about?
Sure, I always partner with Kevin Matheson, who's always building like 4 or 6 houses or multi-unit buildings for us together. He's one of my partners. And I have a new partner coming up, Logan Kramer and Andrew Kazakevich. These
Okay.
guys are a design pro over in Strawberry Mansion. We gave them like 7 vacant lots, big vacant lots, multi-units on big corners, and he's going to build fantastic apartment buildings there. So from buying a crappy vacant lot at the sheriff's sale like 8 years ago, we're going to split an 8-unit apartment building. So that excites me that I turned something
Yeah.
that you would have never even wanted to drive by into something good.
So you had the foresight of in 8 years ago to kind of see, okay, this neighborhood's developing.
Hmm.
You-
It has to go somewhere because Center City is here and Strawberry Mansion is here. And if you go down to Fishtown and Kensington and Port Richmond and Newbold and all these sections, they're already developed further out than Brewerytown and Strawberry Mansion, so that it's inevitable that it has to go. It goes in rings outside the city, and the rings will continue to get bigger outside the city.
Okay.
You know, this is Center City right now, where we're sitting out in Fairmount with
Yeah.
the prices.
Yeah.
This building we're in is $350 a square foot is the value of it.
Oh.
Ridiculous. People told me they wouldn't walk past this building this way or that way like 25 years ago. It was a bad neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah,
And it's completely changed. and
completely changed. It's like Passyunk Avenue now. There's a lot of restaurants and vitality here on Fairmount Ave.
And well, I guess that's, because the leadership of Philadelphia is bringing in the jobs. Is that kind of, how's that evolution start? Like from 25 years ago to being, I'm scared to, even come in this neighborhood. How's that?
I don't know. I'm not good at stuff like that, but I know that this real estate, Fairmount was good, and a little north of Fairmount was good. And real estate continues to go up. And as more people, like I said before, move into Center City or have to work in Center City, they got to live somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to live close by work and be a $6 Uber pool ride away from work or, eating and drinking out downtown.
That's interesting. No, that's good. So what, I know you mentioned you've had a lot of partners, and who was maybe someone who really inspired you over these years
Sure.
of working in real estate?
It's probably non-real estate first. It's probably the first 2 real accounting bosses I ever had.
Okay.
Mr. Harris Margolis, he was my boss. This goes way back. He was my boss when I was a co-op. I worked at his accounting firm. And I remember hearing him say things, and I still hear them in the back of my head. Like, he taught me right from wrong, like ethics. Like, that's my first accounting job. And then my next accounting job, a guy named Chuck Adams, taught me how to take what I knew how to do math and sell that to people to make money. So those 2 people taught me how to be an accountant with my own accounting firm and a good CPA. And now I'm taking that and training the folks that work for me here, because I hear them on the phone and I see the letters they write and they parody me, or like they're my proteges sometimes. They do exactly the way I would have done it with a little spin of their own, for sure.
So those 2 gentlemen were your mentors?
Yeah, my
kind of-
CPA mentors, because they're both CPAs. They never really got into real estate.
Okay.
They were just good bosses. So you always want a good boss.
Okay. That's great. Really great. What has been, your biggest aha moment over the past 6 months?
My biggest aha moment, let me think, that stuff's going to go wrong. I can't fix everything. There's going to be problems. People are going to sue you, and you're going to have to sue people. But at a certain level of real estate, Chip, let me say, you have to move to the next level. It's not all peaches and cream. Like, if somebody wrongs you, like I had a restaurant recently move out, and I have to decide what to do there. I mean, how do I go after him? And what do I do? And I'm a nice guy at heart. I want to smooth everything over, but I have a partner. So between me and my partner, we have to decide what to do. So the biggest aha moment, it could be a couple things. It could be partnering with Logan Kramer, because I really respect this guy. He's 24 years old. He really knows how to design and develop in real estate. and Mr. McDavid's another partner of mine. I just listen to Mr. McDavid, and he says things that I use every day. He's kind of like my third mentor. Then, if I had to add a third, when I'm talking with people and I know something's not right, I can hear these guys in the back of my head telling them, "Don't do the deal. Ask more questions. Get it in writing." Things like that.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, if someone wants to learn more about you, or get a hold of you, or what would be the best way?
Don't call. Don't bother. If you want to get a hold of me and you have money and you want to do something together, come on over, and maybe we could do something. Maybe you already have real estate, or you're a person with money that wants to invest. But right now, one of my most precious commodities is my time. So even with you, I think we went back and forth a couple of times to find the right time. But time is more valuable. I would almost pay for more time right now. So if you needed my help, or my partner Nancy Kill's help in some accounting function, we have a website, pretty good website actually, with a lot of good stuff on QOZ, which is a new tax law and a tax program on there.
And what's that website?
Spina Company.
Okay.
Spina Company website.
Okay. Awesome.
Good map on there for the QOZ. What streets and buildings are in the QOZ versus which streets are not in the QOZ in Philadelphia.
And the QOZ is?
It's a new tax program, federal government, where if you're building in certain neighborhoods and you're developing the properties and holding them for a while, you don't have to pay tax ultimately on the gain if you hold them for like 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Is that like a tax abatement, or what's?
Income tax deferment and then an income tax relinquishment. There would be no income tax.
If you sold the property for a profit.
Sold for a profit after a reasonable holding time that's dictated by the law.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. And we're in real estate and we have some going on, but out of all the clients in real estate that we have, you think we'd have more, but it just doesn't fit. It has specialized rules, and everybody thinks they're going to do QOZ, but then they all want to sell the property right away. And you have to wait 7 to 10 years. So it has to be the right product to QOZ.
Okay. And then one more question. I think you've already answered it, but if you would give advice to maybe a young person who's really hungry and ready to go and kind of wants to make something happen, like the millennial generation. I know we get criticized a lot because we may be lazy or kind of what's been said. But what would be the advice that you would give some of our age?
I'll just take somebody who's not a millennial, who's interested in real estate and has a little bit of energy, and maybe they started out as like a rental agent, renting apartments at maybe Drexel or Temple University, and then maybe they got a job as an underling at a real estate office working for a realtor as an assistant realtor. These jobs are free to get. You could just step into these kind of jobs and make like $52,000 or $85,000 a year. Wow. But if you want to move to the next step of being a realtor and owning a property, what you should really do is make a list of 10 people that love you, like grandparents and credit cards and some neighbors, friends, a fraternity brother that might have money, and say, who do I know that has like $400,000 or $200,000 or even $100,000 that would be willing to invest a quarter of that in me in a partnership for real estate. But you might have to get a little bit of a track record and do a single family house or a duplex or just something that shows that you know what you're doing before you approach that crowd. So a lot of people come in and I yell at them to do that same thing. I'm doing a project, I need money. Well, write a list of 10 people that love you that you know that have $100,000 or more each and ask them to borrow 40 and be a partner in a project. The worst they could say is no.
Which is where they're already at.
Which is free to hear. But everybody that I approach now always says yes, because they know who I am. Oh, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll invest that money. And when it comes time to buy the property and like 2 weeks to go, I need you to transfer your 80 grand over. It's going to be, I talked to my wife and we changed our mind. So I can lather everybody up, but getting them to the table is getting some, because everybody wants to do their own thing. Everybody's their own island right now in real estate. But you can take somebody who just is showing apartments and make them a real estate agent selling some houses. And they can get up quickly. I have a fella right now who's up to 125 or 150 a year, and he started out at like 25 a year or two ago. But that's,
Oh, wow.
if you know what you're doing and you're working under a good real estate mentor, like I'll give you an example. Some of these real estate agents downtown that have their own groups that work for Compass or Keller Williams or whoever they're working for, they make money if you sell a house. And if you sell enough houses, for this kid to have made 125, I bet his boss made 25 off of him because they split it in some fashion.
Interesting. Well, hey, thank you so
You're
much.
very welcome.
I appreciate it. It's a wealth of knowledge.
All about real estate. It's what
Yeah.
what I think about even when I'm driving in and out.
Oh, man.
Properties and what to do with them.
That's exciting. Joe,
Thank you.
pleasure. Yeah. Talk to you.